you gonna ask me?
If you were always this way, you know, brave.
I'm not brave, man.
Of course you are. You rescue people.
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes I do other things.
Like killing people.
Yeah.
My father, he kills people too.
This is Extraction, not to be confused with the other 10 films called Extraction, which have been made in the past. Like, trying to find info about this movie and, like, pictures and stuff has been a nightmare, because I think there was a film made with, like, Bruce Willis 2 years ago, and then a film made before that. So this is brand new to Netflix. It stars Chris Hemsworth, and he plays somebody with a great name, Tyler Rake. And it's ironic because he kills someone with a rake in the film at one point as well. So he plays a kind of black market mercenary who, as always, has some sort of kind of past demons in his life. There's stuff going on in his mind mentally from his past, revolving around his own children. And he gets recruited basically to travel to India and basically extract a son of a kidnapped kind of politician, international crime lord, who's been kidnapped by a rival gang. So Chris Hemsworth, as Taylor Rake, basically has to go extract the son, and is caught between two kind of rival gangs and other factions in India, and has to basically save the boy's life. Simple plot, as you basically hinted to there, Dan. But I'm okay with that. I'm all okay for kind of generic films which at least try and do something different or build on what's come before, or at least try and do it well. And this film really does that for me. I think, we're just talking about Willoughby's, which, I'm glad that I saw, which I don't think was suitable for the cinema at all. I've got the opposite opinion of this. I think this would have been great on the biggest screen kind of possible. And it's come around at the right time, really, because we're obviously at the moment, we're at that time now where the sun is out. It's April coming into May. That Marvel movie is around the corner, should be around the corner. And we're used to, at this time of the year for cinema, being sat in packed screens with bags of popcorn and big explosions, guns, and big action blockbusters. So we're kind of being deprived of that right now. And I think what Netflix have really done well with this is they've kind of answered that. This is the solution to those kind of withdrawals at the moment, because it is a really well-crafted, well-made popcorn blockbuster, which is perfect for, I think, like a Saturday night in, date night with a bag of popcorn. I just think that the action sequences, for one, are just so well crafted. There's a sequence, I think, about 40 minutes into the film, which is a one shot. So it's like a oneer, where they do the kind of similar thing to like 1917 and films before it, where there's this really kind of drawn out action sequence, which goes from like a car to a gunfight to like a knife fight and so on. And I gotta say, I was really impressed with that. And then obviously you've got like very intense sequences. Then there's one really kind of great central sequence between Chris Hemsworth and David Harbour, which I really liked, and the tension really kind of built there. And I think the tension does build really nicely to a really satisfying kind of final climax set on a bridge. I think there's just been some great creative choices here, because I love the setting of India. I think, there's not enough action movies set within India. Obviously, you've got Bollywood, but modern blockbusters, because that just adds to the excitement of the film. It's such a country and place full of hustle and bustle and chaos that the action really kind of thrives within that setting. So I really loved that, and I really loved how the action and stuff was brought to life and choreographed. And I'm a big fan of Paul Greengrass, who makes obviously the Bourne films. And he makes his films really quite grounded. And even though this is generic as hell, in terms of obviously, it's a military man with a past, and he must save this child and get him to safety. it does the action really well, and it's really grounded from, you know, the sound that the guns make and things like that. I just really picked up on those little things which made the film feel really authentic. And even though we spend like 2 days with these characters, or like even less than that, like a day with these characters, and the plot is very thin, I was invested. And it's more to say than obviously the Willoughbys. You know, I wanted them to succeed. So at the end, when, you know, Chris Hemsworth is bruised and bloodied, I really, really wanted him to succeed. And I felt really kind of emotionally connected to the characters and the relationship. Even though obviously the plot is paper thin. So for me, it's a huge success. Chris Hemsworth is great anyway. I mean, he's one of my favorite actors out there at the minute because he nails comedy and he nails action so well. He can turn that on and off. And I think that's a really great, true kind of mark of a performer. And the writing from Joe Russo, who's obviously been involved in Winter Soldier and a lot of the Avengers movies. He's really great. You know, he knows how to write an action movie. So all in all, I've got to say, I was really, really impressed with this, and I left really satisfied. I felt like I'd been to the cinema afterwards. And yeah, well worth the kind of Netflix subscription. But what did you think, Hamish?
Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it as well. I think when I was about to play it, I saw that it was 2 hours long. I thought, ooh, that is quite a long running time sort of for a Netflix action movie. A lot of them are sort of around the 90-minute mark, so I was a wee bit worried going into it that it might not sustain that runtime. And even with the sort of sparse storyline, I think it did do well with that runtime. I was never bored. I was sort of always engaged with it, so I was pretty impressed that way. I think just Chris Hemsworth is brilliant casting for this because whilst his character is cliched, it's been seen countless times before. Because it's Chris Hemsworth, you're sort of immediately invested because he's just got that natural charisma from previous roles, or like in the Thor films and Avengers. Like, he's well known and he's well liked, and I think that does the film a lot of favors. If this had sort of been an unknown actor or sort of someone with less status than him, I think it would have struggled with the 2 hour runtime. But his like physicality and his comedy and just sort of even the more emotional moments, there are not that many of them, but I think he does them well, and I think the way they tie them in, mainly at the end, they do work, even though he's not that developed of a character, but what they do with him is good and it works, and it definitely adds something to the film. It doesn't feel like sometimes in these action movies you're like, I don't care about the backstory, like just show me the main action. But the little sort of flashbacks and moments with him were good, and they definitely did make that finale better and more engaging. So I did think it was good. I don't think I've liked it as much as some other people. I've seen a lot of people that are really, really raving about it. I liked it. I was entertained. I don't think it's anything particularly special, but for what it is and the 2 hour runtime, I thought it did a very good job at keeping itself entertaining.
Yeah. I really enjoyed it. And like you said, Hamish, when I saw the 2 hour runtime, Joe knows me so well, like runtimes are everything for me. And unless it's Aquaman, of course. Sorry, I have to stop with that. But I love a good 80-minute, I love a good 90-minute. And I think, but prior to lockdown, all the films we saw at the cinema were really long, 2.5 hours, which I don't mind. I'm happy to. But I saw this, and it isn't really my type of film anyway. It looked very 12 strong, and we weren't a fan of that film. And we were like, oh, gosh. But it was producers from the Avengers films. Chris Hemsworth is so versatile as an actor. He can do everything. Like I say, he can do comedy, action, anything. And so I went in, and it flew by for me. I thought the pacing was brilliant. The action is the selling point. The action scenes are incredibly choreographed. I would dare say I preferred it to the John Wick films because there was a touch of grittiness to it, and it was more believable than the John Wick films. John Wick got really carried away in that third film. It felt just like they were going through the motions. I'm like, come on, John. And this, you actually felt at any time that Chris Hemsworth was going to die. Like, I thought it. I was like, yeah, how is he still doing this? Really, really effective, those scenes. I think you're right, the story is very, very thin. But, that was fine by me. And I just felt sorry for Chris Hemsworth. He was doing all the work, and his team were out in the office typing on keyboards. I was like, what are you guys doing? And then one of them comes out and saves the day at the end. I was like, what? So I did feel sorry for him. And yeah, I think physically this is such a demanding role for him. And I love the fact it was set in India. Thought it was really interesting. I liked the villains in it. I thought they were quite believable as well. Like you said, it's a kidnap story. He has to go and extract and retrieve it, and we've seen it time and time again. But I tell you what, I take this over any Bruce Willis film any day. I really enjoyed it. Very self-aware, knows what it wants to be, and yeah, I agree with Joe. This should have been put into cinemas. I think, that car chase scene was so good.
So
I was like,
good.
I was gripping onto my seat. Really, really enjoyed it. I think definitely one of the best Netflix films I've seen in a very, very long time for me.
Definitely agree with you there.